The more and more I sit here and think about this whole Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, the more questions that pop into my head, and that's been my thoughts for the past few days. Question after question. Ever since that trailer was shown off, I've had questions popping into my head non-stop. And this one? This one is by far one of the most interesting yet. Where exactly are Link and Zelda in this trailer? A lot of fans and theorists' immediate thoughts are that Link and Zelda are somewhere below Hyrule Castle. Well, somewhere in the area below the castle, due to the way the trailer is showing off and presented. After the whole Ganondorf mummified corpse scene, where we see the King of Evil reawakening or being resurrected, or whatever is going on here, happens, the trailer cuts to Hyrule Castle, and something very significant is happening to it. It begins to rise from the ground. Like, no joke, the castle that the royal family lived in is literally taking liftoff. Who would have seen something like that coming? But then again, this is the series that has stuff like the moon crashing into Earth, and a young child travelling in time to save the land against this thing. Anyway, the instant thought of most people, including myself, was that Link and Zelda are somewhere deep below the castle, and what just happened down there had caused the castle to move. And you know, fair enough. But after closer examination of the trailer and a little bit of research, I don't actually believe that Link and Zelda are venturing below the castle. So in today's video, I'm going to try and figure out where exactly the courageous hero Link and the daring Princess Zelda are in the Breath of the Wild sequel trailer. So, before I dive headfirst into a theory that is very debatable, let me explain something. My thoughts and theories towards this topic are very much my own opinion on what I have seen and found within the trailer in the game Breath of the Wild. It's perfectly okay if you disagree with me, but give this a listen, as I think you'll find my theory eye-opening, to say the least. So, where do I think Link and Zelda are? Well, to answer that question, let's go over all of the hints and evidence that has led me to believe that they are elsewhere, and potentially exactly where they are in this trailer. First of all, let's examine their location to the best of our ability, going off the current information. Well, firstly, you don't even need to watch the trailer over several times to realise a lot of these things, but for the sake of being 100% sure, I reviewed all the footage at half speed just to get the perfect idea. From what I have gathered, Link and Zelda are in a cave. Alright, of course there is the obvious things such as that Link and Zelda are somewhere underground, and that they are headed towards the corpse we see towards the end of the trailer. The reason? Well, that's still unknown. However, other information that we can gather is that wherever they are has been very untouched for some time. It's clear that it's not completely untouched and undiscovered due to all of the structures and designs found all throughout that short trailer, such as this massive bridge stretching across a deadly drop within the cave, the stairs that we see this poor rat being engulfed in malice on, and this pillar with the markings on it, along with all of the markings found on the walls, and most interestingly, the tribal-like paintings on the walls. But we will come back to those specifically. They will play a fairly important role in my theory that we will cover very soon. We can also note down that the entire place is poorly lit up. Without the torches that Link and Zelda are carrying, the only source of light would be from the luminous stones. Whilst that does help illuminate the place, it still doesn't make it very safe or well lit. One last thing about this place. It is very likely that this is very deep beneath the ground, mainly because of features like this shot. An open section as large as this, naturally anyway, would be likely to be found deeper underground rather than closer to the surface, and just the overall vibes we get from the trailer, how dark and gloomy, damp and wet it is, along with all of what is stored down here, I'd say it's safe to assume that this is pretty far beneath the ground. Now, why did I go to mention all of that? Well, my thoughts regarding all of that are that due to the condition of wherever this place may be, my assumption would be that it's located somewhere very out of the way. Because you'd think if this was located below the castle, A, the royal family would have access to it and ensure that it's a lot safer and more lit up for if the time ever comes that one must venture down, and B, you'd think the entrance, presumably this shot here, would be somewhere within central Hyrule or a neighbouring region. That brings me to my next piece of evidence to suggest that it's not below the castle. The entrance. I'd say it's fairly safe to assume that this is the entrance to wherever Link and Zelda are headed. Now, if we look closely, we can see that there is a lot of mist and fog in the air, something that is common at higher altitudes in Breath of the Wild. Along with that, we can see that the ground appears to have a sort of white layer above the stone cold rock. The footage is fairly new, and likely to be sharpened up a little for the final game, but this could very well be snow, or a long shot sand, but my best guess is snow. One last thing to talk about the location of this entrance is the rock surrounding it. This rock is clearly dark, and has that sort of stone cold look to it, similar to the colour of rock you find in the Hyrule region. I know it may sound silly, but go back and look at the colours of the rocks in Breath of the Wild. Most rocks aren't this dark, and the ones that are located within very cold regions. Of course, there is also all of the markings and designs on the entrance, along with these two paw-like structures, very reminiscent of the Zonai tribe architecture. If this was to be located somewhere higher up, say a mountain, that could match up with the fact that the place is very untouched and doesn't appear to have ever been found in years. But it is very likely that only the royal family and the tribe, presumably the Zonai, know of this place's existence. So with all of that information regarding its interior look and entrance location, it doesn't appear to be looking like it's anywhere near the castle. Now, what if the royal family and the Zonai tribe were working together here? We know the Zonai are an ancient tribe that thousands of years ago possessed magic traits and lived out primarily in the Faron region. Although, we know they made structures all over Hyrule, as we can see in Breath of the Wild, and we do know that they were present during the same time as Hyrule being an established kingdom, just in the distant past. So, to put it bluntly, could the Zonai tribe have helped the royal family in keeping this ancient corpse of Ganondorf contained? And before anyone wants to question the time of their existence in comparison to Ganondorf's, well, the tribe clearly knew who he was, as we can see their paintings on the walls of these caves clearly depicting who would appear to be Ganondorf, so they must have been around during the same time of that incarnation of Ganondorf. What I'm trying to propose here is, once the hero of that time defeated Ganondorf, did the royal family and the Zonai tribe team up to contain his body? Well, I believe so. The Zonai may not have been involved right away, they might not have been well known at the time, but it's clear at some point they got involved. Perhaps the royal family learned of their magical traits and wanted their assistance on dealing with such an evil infused corpse. That could also explain what all of this is. Could that be the magic of the Zonai containing Ganondorf's body? This cave system was clearly found by the Zonai before the royal family had anything to do with it. This is obvious due to all of the tribal features and lack of modern technology within the cave. Now, there have been some theories popping up that I've seen on both YouTube and online threads suggesting the Zonai could have been an underground tribe, or perhaps migrated underground at some point in time. And that could actually work, but so could them just vanishing at some point in history. Although, if they are playing a role in containing this corpse, it's likely that they are still around in some way. I guess with a lot of this, we do have to wait for more info and the game itself. Another big thing I wanted to mention was that this is Ganondorf, the king of evil and one of the single biggest threats to the kingdom of Hyrule, and someone who has caused so much trouble for this kingdom over many years of its existence. You'd like to think that he would be hidden away far, far from the heart of the kingdom. An example of this can be seen in Twilight Princess. Ganondorf was taken to the Arbiter's grounds to be contained and then eventually executed. That location is purposely far away from the heart of the kingdom, just in case something happens. And what do you know, something did happen in that case. So what are the chances that this practice of keeping great evil far away from the heart of the kingdom has stuck? It matches the location alright. It's clearly somewhere out of the way to reach. It's very deep beneath the ground, and has a clearly long journey to reach, given the amount of equipment Link and Zelda packed. I don't think it would be too far off to say that this location that Link and Zelda are at in the trailer is somewhere off the map in Breath of the Wild. Given the fact that this game is going to be a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, we obviously can't just play in the exact same Hyrule. Perhaps we will see it in the early stages of repair and recovery, but I feel like the developers will add more land to explore. Perhaps whatever is beyond these edges of the map, or perhaps is located somewhere within the Hyrule region, and needs to be uncovered one way or another, whether that's digging up snow and rock or some sort of other mechanic. So where are Link and Zelda in the Breath of the Wild sequel trailer? Given the location is very untouched, very unused, and by the looks of things, very out of the way from the castle, I would guess that this cave system is somewhere in the northwest of Hyrule, likely the Hyrule region, or perhaps a little bit further out. So much further out that we will need to wait for the game to be released to actually travel that far, as those distances are not in Breath of the Wild. Do you agree? I just honestly can't see it being beneath the castle making any sense. If something were to ever go wrong, that would be one hell of a deadly situation. Whether, if this was located far away and beneath the ground, there would be time to deal with a situation. The only question that I still have now is, why does the castle begin to rise from the ground after Ganondorf has fully awoken? Well, firstly, I believe the main reason, the automatic assumption is that Link and Zelda are beneath the castle is because of the order this trailer is presented in. Yes, it probably isn't a fair order, but just because the castle rises because of what happened, doesn't mean that they are below the castle. I do however believe they are connected in some way. How may you ask? Well, we don't quite know yet. It could be something to do with the potential magic of the Zonai. Who knows? Whenever the game is released and we find out where this is located, I will likely cover this topic to some degree again, linking back to whether I got this correct or incorrect. And if it's located somewhere in the northeastern snowy region of Hyrule, I'm gonna be pretty happy for getting something right for a change. There isn't currently enough info for us to know these answers fully. We can only really speculate and theorize together, but for the true answers, we will need to wait. Most importantly, let me know what you guys think down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this and discuss it together. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters for helping me make more of these videos to the highest standard more often. Your support really helps me out and bring more videos more often. If you'd like to help support me and the channel, be sure to head over to my Patreon page. Please know all support is very much appreciated, so don't feel obligated to donate. Be sure to hop in our Discord server through the link below, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.